Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another candidate interview. We're here with Rodney Loonsfoot. How's it going, Rodney?
Hey, all right there, Mitch. It's been a while since I've been here.
It has.
It's been to feel comfortable. Hey, I should come back down and hook up with you for Indigenous here.
Anytime you want.
Awesome.
Anytime you want.
Thank you for doing these. I just want to let you. That's a lot of work, a lot of editing, the technical difficulties and things. Just keep it up, Mitch. You're doing fine.
Well, thank you very much.
You're doing just fine.
Let's go over some of the ground rules here. You have a 60-minute time limit. You can use as much or as little of that time as you'd like. And these are straight-cut episodes, other than the fact that this camera over here only shoots in 10-minute segments. I'll set a timer here, and we'll have to reset it once in a while. And other than that, no talking about other people. So with that, let's jump into it. Give us a general overview of who you are. Oh, wait, before we jump into that, I have to point out, you are the second incumbent in the studio, right?
Second incumbent, yes. My name Bojo, Nindaway Maganaduk, Wasange Zo de Jinakas, Mong and No Dem, Chi Wake We Dong, O Getchida and Dow, Bejig Medewe and Dow. Good afternoon. My name is Rodney Loonsfoot, is my English name. My Anishinaabe, my spirit name was Shining Wings. I'm from the Loon clan, and I hold that near and dear to me for a whole bunch of reasons. I'm sitting here today through that clan, through that direction and the belief that I have is why I've chosen to step up. And again, one more time, to been honored and asked by our community to represent them again for another term, and I want to do that. I'd like to share about my vision, some of my dream, and some of my goals and things moving forward. It's a whole lot of work, it really is, but I'm looking forward toward the challenge, and I'd really like for the community to know a little bit about more of who I am.
Very good.
I am married happily to Jane Loonsfoot. She's the apple in my eye, absolute sweetheart, and a whole supporter of everything crazy and all of what I do. And then I have an absolutely love her, and she works at Upper Great Lakes and as an outreach specialist for North UGL. I have 4 children: Stephen, Tanya, Jesse, and Joey. All 3 have completed their college degrees. They have our professionals. Stephen is a 7th or 8th year in elementary, 4th grade teacher, varsity softball coach, travel team, girls softball team, travel team softball down that way, and then very, very active in that community. He's married to Amy from Gun Lake Tribe, and they always do cultural things and that, and really, really awesome role model for him and what he's doing. He's in education, and it's hard. Tanya, she homeschools 4 beautiful grandchildren, and she is really, really, really on her toes. I like the network homeschooling environment that they've been able to put together to make sure that the kids are meeting the bar for what they need to for school. And then Joey, my youngest, he's 15. I'll be going to get him on Friday. Halloween coming up and all the rest of that. He's my helper and my main guy. I'll talk about him a little bit later on. But what I wanted to do is I wanted you to know who my family was, and my children. I've got 8 beautiful grandchildren. Love them to death. I am so happy to be able to be sitting in here to be able to share some hope and some of the dreams and what I've got moving forward. I have, for the longest time since I was little, and I'm going to back this up.
Back it up.
My dad was part of the Indian relocation program to Chicago, and he was a welder, and tribal members, Native Americans were phenomenal at scaling heights and iron workers, and that's through that program. One of the ways he ended up going down, there was a bunch of different programs to get tribal members off the reservation, to acclimate them, desensitize, and take away and make them non-Indian. And I'll say that nicely.
Yeah.
And so that conversion happened, and we lost a whole lot. We did. And so what's happened is that when we come up from Chicago, when we relocated back here in the late 70s, there wasn't a whole lot here culturally. And I can remember a time that we would go to church. Every single Sunday, we would go to church in Chicago, and my dad would give us some money for the donation plate, and he would give us money for Dunkin' Donuts for the little donut holes. And there was always 6 or 7, 8, 9, 10 of us kids and cousins walking to church. We have our envelope and we took turns carrying the money. And then the biggest thing was we, back then, I'll be honest, we were going because we were told, and we got Dunkin' Donuts holes at the end. And I fell asleep in the pew. That's just the way it was when you were little. Didn't understand that meaning of faith and what that is all about. Completely different from what it is here today.
Yes.
So, we moved to Berga, still continue to go to church.
How old were you at that time?
At that time, I was about 10, 11 years old. I was just a young guy then. And I remember there was way back in the old Zeba Hall, there was a gathering that came up. Tori Williams and a whole crew from LVD and Flambeau and all them guys came up. And it was the first time that I heard a drum that was in the old Zeba Hall on a Saturday, all day Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening. And there was this drum and these guys around us and people trying to copy and trying to dance. That was the first dance, the first dose to me of what being Indian was. Because when I was in Chicago, and people would ask me my name, Loonsfoot, of course I would get teased in the whole 9 yards about it. But I had no idea of what that identity, what that importance, what that role was going to be. And so, I didn't know a lot in Chicago. We were in Chicago. Indian relocation, it was working the way that it was supposed to be because I didn't. Yeah. And so when we came up here, I told my dad, and I go into church, I said, hey, Dad, I don't want to go to church. I says, I want to be Indian. And I heard this drum over this Saturday and Sunday. And Matt Shelliffle, I'll never forget, he had some bells somewhere. And me, Andrew, John Paul, Mickey, and a bunch of us took turns. I almost was fighting over getting to wear those bells around our knees so that we could dance. And we didn't know what we were doing. It was that feeling that we had inside, that instant connection to that beat that we have within our own heartbeat.
Whoever has the biggest bells is the coolest.
Exactly, and that was it. And so from that time, that was when I had made that connection. With me, how I like to call it, is that when, you've heard the term blood memory. You've heard that before, and that is actually, whether it be a drop or being full blood, and this kind of comes into some of your questioning later on. But it has to do is that if you have Ojibwe, Anishinaabe blood, that all of those ceremonies, all those traditions, all of those different things, if you go about the right way, that in making that connection with the Creator, then you're going to be able to have all of them ceremonies, directions, dreams, visions, goals, and ceremonies to come back to retain who we are with that cultural sense of identity as Anishinaabe. So what happens,
right.
you getting closer?
Yeah, we're getting close to these timers, and just give you some cushion.
Yeah.
We'll reset them now.
Okay.
All right, we're back up and running. Did you just want to continue your thought?
Sure, yeah. So I was, I told my dad, I said, hey, I don't want to go to church no more, and I want to be Indian. And I didn't know what that was. And I had a bite. I had a feeling. I knew something within that connection was there that I made. And I learned later on that's what they use. That's what we have been gifted and blessed with, that blood memory, that teaching. And so that's why I know where I'm at today. And it's kind of defined me where I'm at and what I'm doing and moving forward.
From that age.
That was my connection. I picked up a crow. And I made a bustle out of it. I never made a bustle before, never worked with feathers, but I made a bustle. And it was the first one that I wanted to wear for the powwow. This was way back in the very, very first powwow that was coming around here. And, back then, times were, we weren't rich, and, it was real difficult back then. And this little bustle that I made, really beautiful. I made it, decked it all out. Wasn't sure if that's what it was, but that's what I saw. That's what I envisioned. That's what I connected. And that's what actually I did. And I ended up passing it on to somebody at the end of the powwow when it was all done. And I was taught to do that. So from that day on, whether it be going to my first sweat lodge with Donnie Carlson in the old Zeba school over there, to being able to go out on a fast with Beaver Pelcher, took me out way, way back. I went to my first powwow with Moose Pamp over to Pashabi Town. This was way, way back. I didn't have an outfit. And one of the things I really, really wanted to do, our title Indian Education Coordinator, Kathy DeVoy, was there. And I cut her grass all summer for an outfit for a dance regalia. Black aprons, ribbons, real, real cool. But I wanted something. There was the connection, and that was there. And then in time, I ended up sharing and giving that away too when I went on later on active duty into the service. And I ended up sharing a whole bunch of those things that I've had because that's how I was taught. So I'm going through. We're in Baraga. We're at powwows. It's kind of clicking along. And I go to boarding school. Because Baraga, back then, it was a hard time. I had a hard time. Indians needed to be with Indians. Back then, being a kid, that's how I saw that. And I remember a whole bunch of that, And my brother Chubby and Charles and Terry C, they were out at boarding school. I heard about Flanju, and I'm like, okay, I can't fit in. I want to go to boarding school in South Dakota. And voluntarily, I went. And I went out there for a couple of years. I played football. I had fun. I still went to sweats. I did all of the cultures. It was the first time I danced with an eagle bustle at a powwow in Flanju Sioux one time when we were there. So it was there from almost day one, way back when I said that I had wanted to be Indian that drive.
Yeah, not all those stories are bad. Some people like good experiences.
True. And actually, there's a whole lot of stuff there. I used to, in boarding school, like we were poor back then. I had to work $1 an hour in the scullery, in the kitchen, because it was, boys and girls, the dorms. And so I worked in the scullery where you go put back the tray. $1 an hour. And because they had to pay you, and because I needed money and I covered everyone's shifts, they were able to pay me twice, or $2 an hour, and that was what I used to get by out there. We used to work for $1 for an hour, volunteering, doing stuff in the dorms, and you could make money. That was how we would buy our clothes and jackets and different things like that, because back then, my family back home, we had 9 kids back then. There's 8 more back home, and that was a hard time. And so you had
to learn
parents,
to run a game.
Yeah, my parents, Chuck, Loonsfoot, Molly, they did the very, very best that they could to provide for us. I love them every day for what they've done, and I appreciate it. And it was hard, and we got by, and I've learned a whole lot of things out of school. So when I came home, I joined Michigan National Guard, and I went to Baraga School, graduated in '82. I went both years, and there really wasn't a whole lot going on, and that was when I decided to go on active duty in the Marine Corps. I was there for 9 years. I went all the way around the world. Back in '93, Operation Restore Hope, I blew out my shoulders, and they ended up sending me to Ramstein over in Germany from Somalia, and that's where we were, Operation Restore Hope. And then I ended up going to Dover and then coming back to March Air Force Base, going back to California. And so I made a trip all the way around the world. And so I sit here thinking about all of the things that I've been blessed with in the different teachings and things, and can't help but think that all of that purpose in doing those things comes back to today in empowering me and to what I want to try to do, what's best for our community. I was medical issues. I got discharged from the Marine Corps. I talked about last year, I got asked to speak at the high school for Veterans Day. And I talked about this Christmas tree, this camouflage net that we had for covering our vehicles. I threw a string on the center, and I threw it up over the top of it in the rafters and pulled it up real tight. And I clipped on socks, candy bars, and those kinds of things for my platoon that I had while we were sitting in a Gardner Airport over in Somalia. And so being overseas was hard, and all those lessons learned and those things that we've been doing all filter into helping creating that identity of who we are today.
Absolutely.
So after I got out, California, the city life wasn't too good. I still continued to go to a lot of powwows and different things, ceremonies and that, to the best that I could. I came home, there wasn't a whole lot. And I got a call on a Sunday morning. I just helped plan the kids. We just finished with our our youth sobriety powwow with Unity way back then. And again, I was active as soon as I got out and, out of the service, and I came back home with the youth and the events, and I chaperoned the trip and everything else. So I've been in contact culturally on that end for quite some time. I came home. There really wasn't too much here. I relocated to Marquette. We were there for a little while. I worked for Ojibwa Casino through the entire FFJ days. I was a very active part of that. My father, Chuck, said, hey, I got a call. Son, that Monday morning at 6, he says, come on, we're going in. And that was the start of the fight for justice. When we were standing, and I only bring this up is because when my dad told me, and one who I respect, and, and all the things that was going on with tribal council in the history of that he's been, because of the respect, I said, okay, and I brought my family up, and we were a part of the takeover. There was a whole political side to that, and I don't want to get into that. That's a history. I don't want to be defined by that or anything. I just want to be able to use that as a talking point to where we need to go with this cultural focus element that we need to put back into our community, because that's something, it's in our blood.
Yes, it is.
And so, boy,
we have just over a minute on this timer. Should we reset them now, or do you got?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, we'll reset these cameras right now. You can just continue your thought again, right?
Sure. Thanks, Mitch. And I guess is what I wanted to kind of back up to, way back, and when we were talking about when we seen that drum group in the old Zeba Hall, and I really want to back up for because it gives some perspective on what that has done for our community. Since that time, when that drum came here, Sunday the next day, and when we danced all day and we ate and we had giggles and fun and we sweated, and that was really the first shot that I remember of anything going on powwow culturally over here, and that turned into the first powwow, and it was done with a grant. It was potluck, old school kind, very different. It turned into a $5,000 grant, and then it turned into as those ones that were Ted Hollapa, Donnie Dowd, all them guys that all put this together, Jerry Manla, all them guys, they were creating a legacy in for what we were going to do, and that was that first shot, and that was really what we needed, and that turned into the Eagle Singers, and that was the first drum group that came from here. There was a whole bunch of us that were on here that started. I used to hitchhike over the lawns in Zeba for practices. Jim St. Arnold used to take us to Ashland for powwows. We used to go down to Mole Lake and Flambeau. Like I said, Moose Pam used to take me to Marquette and then over to Pashabi Town. So there was a whole lot going on. So that singing part of it was always in my system to today. So in all of that, there's a whole lot. I've been on council. This is my first term.
This is your first term.
This is my first term.
Can we dig into that a little bit?
Let me just kind of share a couple of the things along those lines, because of the things that I have done in this year, just because this time's into this.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been asked to speak at numerous events, whether that be the honoring for like Pete Shullifo that was in the Elks a couple weekends ago at the Vietnam Veterans Moving Wall. I was the lead speaker and danced in the first one because they were honoring Native American veterans that day. I have done all kinds of things in the community. People know me. I love helping with Snow Snake. We did that in the winter. Remember, that was a blast, and I'm hoping that's going to turn on to our cultural night started from that. Then we also had our Father's Day kickball, and that the whole bunch of that. So that all ties into this person that I am, this leader of today, Wasange Zo Shining Wings. So I wanted to let you know right there.
Very good. Jimmy Gwetch, Rodney. Okay, so then the next question I would have, because then, because you're coming from a very cultural, heavily background, I guess my question would be, how did that translate to your first term in council then?
Okay. Well, I'm thinking right now that my first term in council, and all of the things culturally that I learned that they didn't smudge there. And that was the first thing that I wanted to do and I wanted to fix. And I have been doing that ever since. I was going to bring some in here today, but I just assumed that it was done and we smudged up there earlier. And I get called upon to do that in a bunch of different ways at our meetings and different things. And when I actually been talking for the community or representing, in that connection to the Creator is probably the one thing when it comes to being a council member, the one that I think that I can do my very best to try to carry that message to the communities and be that leader that they're supposed to be.
So right from day one, you've been trying to bring that connection to council, and that's what you would continue to do.
Sure, and that's what it is that connection, that emphasis, that priority has to be on the tribal members regaining and reestablishing that cultural identity that they have, because then through those those basic teachings, a whole lot of what we would do would be dealt with if we focused on those 7 teachings. Anything from courage, honesty, humility, from love, respect, truth, and wisdom. All of those seven teachings mean a whole lot, and you infiltrate that down into a form of code of conduct for council members to hold themselves accountable to themselves, to each other, and then to the community.
Yes.
There's a whole lot there. I've learned a lot on tribal council.
Yeah, other than the other than the cultural stuff, and what about the government did you learn in that first term?
On the government side, I learned that I was told to listen my first year. I was told to listen to my elders. I was told to, if I don't know, ask questions, and I've done that. I have. I believe in the government that I may have very, very different views of all 11 other tribal council members. I speak for myself. I don't like cliques. I don't like this backdoor meetings before the meetings. I believe that those 12 council members that are there, they should be the consummate professionals of our community and those role models, because they are. Right? Yeah. Leadership by example. That's what I was taught in the Marine Corps. So I learned that I have voted against a whole lot of different things that we can catch up later on and talk. But I voted against things that wasn't right to me. Okay. To me, and we'll talk about the enterprises and the businesses and things out down the road. But when it comes right down to, I will ask questions. I won't hesitate. I will, and if tribal members have seen the meetings and seen what's going on, if you haven't gone to any of the meetings, I would like for you to go, because I would like for you to see the dynamics of every single council members, how they act, what they're doing, their discussions, their participation, what are they doing for their community, and take a look. And the reason why I say that, and I'm not being negative, Mitch, I'm just saying you take a look at the different leadership styles.
Yeah.
Some may be more vocal, some may be more passive, some may want to not do nothing.
I think that's what we're kind of seeing with these videos is we're seeing how different everybody has a different take on everything.
For sure. And the one thing about with council is that there have been times when I wish that council would, with the magnitude, would understand that responsibility that they have and step into the shoes and take responsibility for what needs to be done for our tribe. Because right now, the community's not happy, just in general, everybody knows this, and they want change. I believe not only is it is the community asking for change because they don't see what they're liking in all of the candidates and the things that's going on. I will say, I had, I'm not a, can I say, butt kisser?
FCC won't flag that one.
If I disagree, I will say so. I was in a meeting once. Remember way back in the cannabis? And the format of the meeting was they were going to do the presentation and they were going to hold the questions to the very end.
Oh,
remember for
when
the
they had the
marijuana, for the
information-
pod operation, the community informational meeting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, actually, let's reset the timers. We'll come back to that. All right, Rodney. So you're mentioning that we're talking about that informational meeting when the tribe was looking into purchasing the marijuana facility.
Sure. And I'm only using this to as a talking point.
Yep.
Is in that the elders, and this was supposed to be big. The community was supposed to know. This was supposed to be transparent, and I had insisted these meetings, these community meetings, to the community, so that the community knew exactly what's going on, because I felt things were moving too fast. If I didn't understand it, if I had questions, I knew the people, the tribal members that weren't in the room were going to be able to not know what's going on. They weren't going to understand. And here's the thing. The format that they said in that meeting was, they said presentation and then questions. A couple of different times, 2 different times, 3 different times, elders had said they had questions. It was very hard to go from thought to thought and to hold your questions for the end. And finally, I stood up and said, Chris, let the elders, please let them answer their questions. It's hard for them to hang on to it. Then it turned into that discussion. And to have the courage to be able to say something like that is an example of what I'm talking about, that leadership that needs to be addressed here.
Yeah, and I mean, you're just recognizing something that's natural.
Sure.
How are you going to keep those questions in mind without coming up with other questions?
So I will say that I will continue to vote against and again, this is all, we're talking tribal politics and, those, that first term. The community voted on this casino. Bottom line, they said 40 million. We're way over the top of it. We're exceeding, and again, I'm just being. Hold me to this. We're going to be over 50 million on this whole project. The community said 40 million, and this council, those ones that voted on this, need to be held accountable, because that money, that council, to me, by not taking that back to the community, was a violation of the Constitution, because it was over 500,000. And the reason why I say this is one of the thing about politics, Mitch. We are advised, and we have our professionals, we have attorneys that advised tribal council and had said, whether it be the tobacco manufacturing, the total price of the investment to make cigarettes, in the total price of the casino projects, including the fixtures, furniture, and equipment, there is certain parts of that I believe that were violated, that they should have went to the community, and any fixture, furniture, any expense over that 40 million, I will automatically every time vote no, because the community said no. They had their chance to do this right, and through leadership, through council's direction by who they put in a place, who they sought to build it, who they got for the architecture, designs, and plans, whoever they got to do this, now this is all on them. So this consequence needs to be put back on them, the ones who wanted and hired our general managers, our contractors, and so on. And I believe, and you talk about government.
Well, you're jumping ahead quite a bit here, because
okay, go ahead.
So, because I got to try to get those base questions out with the format and whatnot.
All right, I'm trying to lead right into them.
Yep. So let's go back to,
sure.
Was it a decision to rerun? Did you have to think about it, or was it something you're going to do right away?
No, I knew immediately, because I had a lot of positive feedback. Elders, tribal members, veterans, they had asked me if I was going to rerun, because they know that I'll ask. I'll do whatever is need to be done. I will bring up the issues that nobody wants to talk about.
So for you, it was just automatic.
It was automatic that it was in my DNA,
Yeah.
my direction, my vision for me to remain here. So I'm going to ask for, the voters, the tribal members' support.
All right, let's go to these questions then. And these are the questions coming from the people. It seems like that's where you want to get to, is what the people want. All right, so these questions are from the KBIC Tribal Members Facebook page. Let's go to this one from Robin Schoss, a good basic question. When considering the tribe's current economic status, what do you think can be done to ensure our economic success to keep providing services for our members?
Economic success to keep providing services to our members. That's a lot. It really is. The first things first, when we talk about economic success, before I think you can really venture out and expand and to see what else you can, you have to deal with what you have right here and now with our businesses. We have our gas stations, from the gas stations to the clinic to the casinos and all the others, the programs and the things that we have. And it's a lot. I think that there has to be a sense of responsibility in the leaders, in the management, to guide and manage their departments to where they are a sound departments wherever they are, and so that they are fiscally responsible. So where they are on the personnel side, they are advocating and doing their best to promote the employees. And the bottom line, they're protecting that investment. And bottom line is that the employees that we have in all of our businesses, we have to stop and acknowledge that our enterprises, the workers that are in there, whatever wages that they're going, that they are our future. Those are the most important people right now that we need to take care of, is the workers that are making us our money. So when they see something unfair, or when they see other benefits and different things, because you got a government and an enterprise, it creates animosity, and that needs to be addressed. And that's one of just that backyard HR side. Then you take a look, Mitch, a whole nother side. You look at overall management from the human resources perspective. You have to find in your department, your managers and your supervisors, job descriptions, promotions, advancement, evaluations. Our tribe in a lot of departments, from what I understood, they don't have the year-to-year evaluations. Council has to approve merit raises. And that's just not right. Those managers, and this is getting back to that economic success, those managers have to be given the authority, the responsibility, and to be held accountable for their department. And so when you take, for instance, and I'm just going to use this for an example, okay? I don't want to create any heartburn. I'll just use the radio station for an example. And let's say that you have a DJ or two that really has some really explosive ideas, that they really, really want to do. And that's something, a whole new format that as a manager, I should be able to encourage you to give your best, your 100% and then some, to motivate you to want to come to work and to feel excited and feel valued, feel important, feel that you're a part of a team, not just another number. That we want for you to feel, for the employees, and this is all the way across the economic side of the tribe and all of the businesses, that if you're busting your butt and you're creating these programs and you're doing that, I'm going to make sure I've already got you in the pipeline, so to speak, as in that tribal management plan. And what that is...
Oh, yep. Timers are hitting again, Rodney.
Okay.
So
right.
we'll reset the cameras.
We'll come back to that.
We're good to go. And we're here with Rodney Loonsfoot. Okay, let's move on to another question from the community. This one is from Carrie Ashbrook. What do you think is the greatest challenges facing our tribe? What should we do moving forward?
Our greatest challenge facing our tribe is regaining our cultural identity. We are forgetting about those teachings, those values, those things that make us Anishinaabe. We've become too, I want to say contemporary, so to speak, too millennial. I'll use that term. Too much reliance on this paper, and not our miigwans, not our ego feathers. And our leadership and goes towards that. Biggest challenges is having a council that is going to work for the benefit and the best interest of its members. That's the biggest challenge, getting the collective group together to do that. And I believe that the community is going to speak up, and they're going to carry a message, and you're going to say they're going to want new leadership, they're going to want new management, and that's what I want to do, is to promote this. Many challenges, the state, the feds. The biggest challenges is going to be our own selves. Our own self. Sovereignty is everything to us. We have, by having that sovereignty, that authority, that right to govern our own selves, has to be first and foremost, along with this, being has to be protected. And those are some of the couple of the biggest challenges that we have. In addition to one of the larger is to creating that family unity, that family concept back, blended families, however they are, but to bring back those families with those Anishinaabe values that are going to stick together, that we can represent ourselves like how we're supposed to. So those are a couple of the challenges. Carrie, I hope I answered your question. But yeah, I think that's it's going to be big.
All right, here's one from Christine M. Mackey. I love her questions.
Mm-hmm.
What are some topics you will bring up for change, i.e. policies, community gatherings, etc.?
ETC. Okay. So immediately, right off the bat, I want a new tribal chairman.
Okay.
I want a new vice president. I want a new executive board. I want new leadership. I want our tribe to take care of our business the way that we're supposed to be. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can look into it. So,
absolutely. Okay,
I'll try to keep them simple, and we'll kind of move on.
Let's go to this one from Christina Wanapie. You've touched on this quite a bit.
Yeah.
What is going to be done to strengthen our Ojibwe language and culture here at KBIC? You mentioned getting that personal connection for each of us, but what do you see? Do you have any big projects in mind?
Well, sure, of course. And, there is, if you take a look at our community, KBIC, and you, for comparison, you compare yourselves, apples and oranges, to other tribes on that cultural component that I'm talking about. We have a cultural committee who does phenomenal. The midwinter powwow, the traditional medicine programs, and all of those are neat. But the bigger thing that has to come to this is that our tribal college has to take a larger role in taking advantages of the language instruction. And then the cultural program that we have by the tribe has to basically lay out that cultural calendar through the years, not a duplication of services through the entire tribe, but try to focalize. And so that if someone's going to have a snow snake event, the whole entire community and tribe jumps in and contributes. It's a community event, you're reducing costs, and it's blending that team for teamwork.
Okay.
And of course, there's a whole lot more that we could talk about. But yeah, let's good question. There's a whole between those fasts, those ceremonies, all of those spirit names, the Anishinaabe, all the powwows, the drum group, the practices that we have, the making the regalia, to those dish bags, the ceremonies, the Medewin lodges, to the Eagle Staff gatherings, and all of those different things. The possession of a sacred eagle feather, just something simple as that. More teachings all the way around. We just had a beautiful fasting camp over a couple of weekends ago. I had built 3 scaffolds And there were members that went on the scaffold and they actually used that and fasted. One of the things that we originated, this was one of the first time in years since that has been here, but this is just one of those things to bring it forward, because then that brings in that family unity, then that brings in those concepts of those drums and those medicine bundles and all those other things, those gifts that we were given. And so culturally, when we go in comparison from tribe to tribe, it is my mission to continue to spread this mission, sort of speaking, of cultural identity and importance, and focus on the language in our ceremonies like we have been.
All right, very good. Moving on to more of, it is definitely more of a political question. What's your opinion on the bullet point topic of off-reservation member voting?
Well, that's a big one, and sooner or later, that's coming. Okay, and let me just kind of break it down for you here a little bit from what I understand. Our Constitution that we were given by the federal government this piece of paper and said, here, this is a good idea to follow. You guys go ahead and follow this, and we'll give you all the rules. And tribal council rubber stamped it and said, okay, this is going to be the way we're going to govern ourselves.
And it says if you want to change it, you have to ask us permission.
You got to ask us permission. And so it's like, wait a minute here. Let's take a look at a whole bunch of this. But the off-reservation voting, I do believe that every tribal member, no matter where they're at, should have a voice. I had a lot of conversations and talks about different people, because that's what leaders do. They go to their community and they ask. And sure, ideally, everybody wants to vote. Of course, you have that right, and I believe it, and I will work towards that. But first, we have to take a look at what the Bureau of Indian Affairs said when we were going back and forth. They said that we need to redo our entire Constitution. So, one of the things moving forward is that immediately after these elections, set down the framework, set down the dynamics, and you have that Constitutional Convention, and you talk about there's going to be off voting, people downtown lots. It's ridiculous that they can't vote.
Yeah.
If you in Baraga County, Marquette County, Houghton County, if you're a tribal member in the ceded territory, there's no reason absolutely why you cannot vote.
Neighbors could have different rights. I mean, just
True.
Neighbors, next door neighbors, because of the lines.
Take a look at our Marquette Casino. I know of family members who moved from Baraga to Marquette off the reservation. They've given up their right to vote because they're going to go work for our casino in Marquette. That's ridiculous. The first thing would be that district voting that we would have. That would be because you have on-res, off-res. Different tribes do it different ways. Different tribes have it doesn't matter where you live, you can still have a vote. Proxy voting, electronically, there's a whole bunch of different ways. But bottom line is come home. Come home and vote. Come home and see what we're doing. Let us come back to us, our community. Let us show you what we've done. Show you how we can move forward and how else you can actually be a part of what we're trying to do moving forward by being transparent, honest, and fair to everybody.
All right.
So there's a whole bunch there.
Yep, we're going to reset these cameras again. This is the opportunity now, and I have no idea if I did miss a topic or an issue or not. Is there something that you'd like to go over that I didn't hit?
Oh boy, well, you did well. I know there's a whole lot I probably could have shared, but information, I believe that I think we covered it all. I believe that just real quick, the voting. Yes, I believe tribal council needs to have representation from our off the reservation. So there's some dynamics there. I believe that Marquette County, the base, that's the expectation that's going to be there is going to be there, and that tribal members should be given that opportunity to vote. Yes, and also representation. That's part of that constitutional committee to go through and look at the Constitution.
And that means having like a council member from them too?
Well, yeah, that'll be having a constitutional convention to go through, look at all of our Constitution, including term limits, which I am in favor of.
You're in favor of term limits?
Of course, yeah, because you have stagnancy, you have old cliques, you've got establishments entrenched for so long to where it defeats the growth and really the sustainability to move forward in a way, because there's cliques, there's certain ones, that establishments that will take care of certain bases and ignore the other, and I think that's what you hear from the community. So I wanted to make sure I had mentioned that. I wanted to make sure that in closing, I guess, this is kind of where we're at.
Yeah, if there's anything else you want to
Sure,
cover, you can speak to the voters.
This Miigwaan I got was gifted to me, and it was an honor. And I, with my the best I can, with honor, courage, and my commitment, I want to be able to serve the voters, you of Keweenaw Bay, for another 3 years. I think I've done a really, really good job. I know I could do a whole lot better. I have a lot of strengths and I have a lot of weaknesses. But the one strength I do have is I don't quit. You come to meetings and you see me get bullied and beat up and stuff, you'll see it. But I keep on punching on. I keep on coming into what I'm doing, because it is not, like they say in the Marine Corps, I may have lost a battle, but eventually I'm looking to win the war in that larger picture and kind of where I'm at. And I do believe that that power of the Creator through our faith is that base that we have to move forward. And by doing that and having that as a foundation is the ground for what's going to make a true tribal council leader who is going to be able to be there and to lift up with our community, but then to be able to be there for support. And I promise to be there for the members of Keweenaw Bay Indian community and them generations after that. See you at the polls. Miigwech for doing this. I really appreciate it. And please go out and vote. Miigwech. Amapi.